So let's talk about Vimshottari Dasha. Vimshottari Dasha has 5 levels. The first is Mahadasha, then Antadasha, Pratyantadasha, Sukshma Antadasha, and Pranadasha. So let's start with the Mahadasha. The Mahadasha represents the broad framework of what can happen during that period. All other dasha levels work within the boundaries set by the Mahadasha. So it's the Mahadasha Lord that determines what's going to happen during its dasha, right? Only the agendas of the Mahadasha Lord are going to happen. If it doesn't have an agenda for something, then that's not going to happen. So let's say the sun doesn't have a marriage agenda, then marriage is not going to happen during Sun Dasha. So it's only the things that the Mahadasha Lord has an agenda for that will happen. The second level Dasha is called Antadasha or Bhukti, and the Antadasha sets the individual up for the event, creating the circumstances for it to take place. So the Antadasha sets the stage, right, and places us in the right environment so that we can experience the event. And that's what makes the Antadasha really important, because we know that something is going to happen in the Antadasha, and so technically speaking, we don't actually need to check any other levels, right? Because we know that something is going to happen during that Antadasha, right? And so we can simply use the first and second level dashas to predict the event, right? The first level dasha lets us know if the event is possible at all, and the second level dasha arranges the event, right? And then it's simply a matter of time before that event happens in that Antadasha. Now, since the event is orchestrated by the Antadasha Lord also gives a general description of the event. So we can analyze the Antadasha Lord, what it rules, its strength and overall condition, to see what kind of event it is and whether it is auspicious or inauspicious. And that is also why many astrologers only predict down to the second level, because it already gives them a specific time frame and a general understanding of the event. The third level dasha is called Pratyantadasha, and the Pratyantadasha shows a growing desire and activity towards the event. So at this stage, we get a stronger desire for the event to happen, right? We start to actively pursue the event, and we really want to make it part of our life. And so in the case of marriage, right, the Mahadasha indicates the possibility of marriage. The Antadasha sets up the right circumstances for marriage. And now the Pratyantadasha makes us really want to get married, right? We feel really strong about it. We are convinced that it is the right thing to do. It's time now. And so we start to actively take steps towards it. The fourth level dasha is called Sukshma Antadasha, and the Sukshma Antadasha brings the event together and represents the immediate circumstances that make it happen. So after we are convinced and excited about the event and we start to actively pursue it, in the Sukshma Antadasha, the event begins to take shape, right? And so in our marriage example, it's the Mahadasha that shows a potential for marriage. The Antadasha is going to set a certain time frame. The Pratyantadasha makes us really excited and focused. And now in the Sukshma Antadasha, the wedding becomes a certainty. This is not the wedding day, but the event is imminent, right? Perhaps only like a few days or weeks away. The event itself, right, the actual day of the wedding, that is the fifth level dasha. The fifth level dasha is called Pranadasha. The Pranadasha represents the actual tangible event and reveals the details of the person, place, or thing involved. So it's the fifth level dasha that manifests the concrete event and gives a clear understanding of what the event is, right? It is in that moment when it happens that all the details are revealed, where it is, what exactly is happening, who are the people involved. And so let's say the Mahadasha has a potential for a person to fall in love. Then the Antardasha creates an environment where it can become a real possibility for them to meet someone special. Then the Pratyantardasha gets the person really excited about the prospect of falling in love, and so they get really active. They might sign up to some dating apps. And then in Sukshmadasha, as they scroll through all the profiles, they see one particular profile picture that really stands out for them, and they get instantly attracted. And so they write them a message and then start exchanging messages back and forth. And then at one point they decide to FaceTime. And that's when the Pranadasha kicks in, right? Because it creates the moment when they connect in person for the first time. And it is in the Pranadasha that all the specific details are revealed, right? The place where they had the conversation, the type of person that they talked to, how that person looked like, even if the conversation was nice, right? So if the Pranadasha Lord is exalted, then they couldn't have wished for a better call. If the Pranadasha Lord is neutral, then talking to the other person was barely worth their time. And if the Pranadasha Lord is debilitated, then the conversation was an absolute nightmare. And so these specific details are revealed by the 5th level dasha, but it is the 2nd level dasha that gives a general idea about something, and that's ultimately more important because it tells us about the overall potential and if something is good or bad. And then the 5th level dasha simply adds specific details. So let's say in your Antardasha you decide to buy a car, and the Antardasha Lord is in really good shape. So right away you know that the car you're gonna buy is a really nice and worthwhile car. It's gonna be reliable and you're really gonna have fun driving it. And then when the event happens, the 5th dasha level will give the specific information about what type of car it is, what brand, what color, and so on. But it is the Antardasha Lord that determined whether it is going to be a good or bad purchase. And so the Antardasha is always going to be more important for predicting an event than the 5th level dasha. And of course the 3rd and 4th level dashas, they simply lead up to the day, to the event, which is here the day of the purchase of the car, right? The 3rd level dasha gets you excited and focused. The 4th level dasha brings the event closer, and then the 5th level dasha is the day of the event. In general, if you can predict reliably with the first 2 levels of Vimshottari dasha, you are a pretty good astrologer, right? You are able to predict what is going to happen and when, and so that's pretty amazing. Now, could you go down to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th level? Yes, you could. But then with those levels, it's also a lot easier to make mistakes, mainly because the birth time needs to be very accurate for those dashas to work. And secondly, those lower levels, they don't anymore as consistently follow the standard technique. And so they require a lot more time and effort, to get them right. And therefore, in this course, we will mostly stick to the first 2 levels.